Good evening, Facebook. I have to apologize ahead of time. I've been fighting a cold for the past week and a half, at least trying to fight one off, and it's getting the better of me tonight. So I'm in my jacket, I've got my Gatorade, I've got my High C. Let's fucking do this. Tonight's going to be my first automotive rant. So I know I just lost most of my viewing base right there. Posers versus cloners. First off, we need to define cloners. What is a clone? A clone is a type of vehicle. Say somebody has one of the most cloned vehicles in the world, the Buick Grand National. The Buick Grand National is nothing more than an appearance package for the Buick Regal T-Type. Very rare turbocharged Buick Regal from the 80s. The Grand National was nothing but a shit ton of black paint, a couple of V6 badges, and a blow-off valve. That's pretty much it. Say somebody has a Buick Grand National T-Type, but the Buick T-Type, but they really wanted a Grand National. So they paint it black, they get the badges, and they tell everybody that it's a Grand National clone. That is a clone. That is a proper clone. A poser is an idiot that goes and gets a V6 Mustang because that's all he can afford. Even though he really wanted the Shelby GT500. So he goes on eBay, or Fleabay as my buddy Ross calls it, buys $10 worth of Shelby badges, throws them all over the side of his car with an AutoZone $100 wing on the back of it, and instantly, I have a Shelby. Just so people look at him when he's going down the road and his dick swells because he's got that little confidence in his vehicle. There's problems with both sides of the coin. I have no problem with somebody who builds a clone and tells you it's a clone. That's the big thing. You can build a clone as long as you don't try to pass it off as authentic. I don't care if you build a clone. You've got the Buick Grand National, one of the most cloned vehicles on the planet. Another one, another famous one, Shelby GT500, 1967, Eleanor. One of the most cloned cars on the planet. And I'm sorry if there's a lot of wind noise. It's fucking windy as hell out here tonight. Two cars that are extremely cloned. Why? Because they're extremely rare. And when you do find one for sale, oh, buddy, get ready to sell a kidney and slice of your liver because it's going to take a grip of money to get it. What I don't condone is people that clone vehicles. Like down the street from where I live, there's a guy that's got supposedly has a Swinger Dart for sale. Now, the Swinger Dart, again, was an appearance package for the original Dodge Dart. And I'm not talking about that little round-eyed, look at me, I'm a Dodge Neon in a fat suit modern Dart that they made. I'm talking like a 1960s Dodge Dart. He's trying to pass it off as an authentic Dodge Dart. Well, if it's a real Dodge Dart Swinger, then you have some real money sitting there. If you have just what started life as an original V6 Dodge Dart, it's not going to be worth much. I'm sorry, not a V6, a slant 6. It's not going to be worth as much money. But if you try to pass it off as an authentic instead of a clone, well, obviously it's about a difference in $10,000 worth of price. Stop doing this, people. Say it's a clone. If it's a damn good clone, people will pay extra to have a damn good clone. They will. So at the end of the day, if you want to buy a Grand National, you're looking at it's about, say you went out today to buy a 1986 Buick Grand National, a true authentic Grand National. That's going to run you probably about 50 grand. Might be a little cheaper, might be a little bit more expensive, depends on where you're at in the country. But the average is about 50 G's. But if I happened to get my hands on a Buick T-Type with black paint and a couple of badges, same engine, same turbocharged engine, that's the trick. It's just not a true Grand National. Well, that's probably worth about 12. There are people out there that deal strictly in clones just because they can't afford the authentic thing. And that's okay. That is totally okay. Somebody rolls up to a car show with a damn good clone and used to let everybody know, hey, this isn't a real Grand National, it's a clone. But this is my clone. Hey, you know what, dude? This is well fucking done. Nice job. That's perfectly fine. I have a problem with posers. Oh yes, that wonderful word that makes me a white boy. Now, I am not very much into imports. I'm very much American muscle, red, white, and blue, big V8. Brrr. So, are Honda Civics my thing? No, they're not. They are to a lot of people. And to be a true gearhead, you can have a vehicle that's in your wheelhouse. You have guys that are diehard Chevy, diehard Ford, diehard Dodge, diehard Honda. But the difference between a gearhead and an asshole is a gearhead, while might not say that's, hey man, that's not my cup of tea, but I respect your build. There's the difference. True gearheads respect all cars. But Honda Civic's not my thing. Acura Integras, not my thing. Honda Del Sol's not my thing. People love these cars though. What drives me up the wall is you'll get somebody who spends $500 on a Honda Del Sol or $1,000 on a decent two-door Civic, and then they immediately ruin it because, man, I want a Type R and I want that turbo sound. So they go to AutoZone and they get the biggest fart can they can even find. Not a true Omega exhaust or an Equipsis exhaust or Magnaflow. Magnaflow makes big fart cannons. They get the off-brand $50 fart cannon. They will bolt this son of a bitch onto their car. Hold on a second. Not going to the ghetto. They will bolt this thing onto their fucking car to where it sounds, like a hippo with a fucking whoopee cushion shoved up its ass in its death throes. Go buy the Ultimate Aero $99 rear wing spoiler for a front wheel drive car. Bolted on the back. Look at me, man, I'm Fast and the Furious. No, you're not. You're a fucking idiot. The only time I want to see rear wings on front wheel drive cars is either you're running Le Mans, Paris-Dakar, or fucking hill climbing. That's the only time they're actually useful. Why? Spoilers create what's called downforce, aerodynamic properties of physics. Wind basically passes over the rear wing. Now, what do wings do? Usually they pick shit up. These are designed to push down. And in a rear-wheel drive car, it pushes the drive tires, the rear tires, down into the ground for better traction, better acceleration. In a front-wheel drive car, they kind of just make you look like a tool. What really kills me, and they've got an orange one of all colors running around Tempe. They have an orange Toyota Prius. The bane of every gearhead's existence. They have an orange Prius running around with dual fart cannons. Not one, but two. On like a 1.6 liter bullshit fucking engine. It's got dual fart rockets out the back. It's got a rear wing on the back of the hatchback, which makes it look even more ridiculous. And those sticky little vents that you can buy for $20 on the front fender to make it look like, oh, well, my engine needs more cooling. Poser. Stop wasting useless money. For the amount of money people spend on cars posing for something to not be, they could have actually saved up and bought what they wanted in the first place. But they want that instant gratification. They want that look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. No! Or you get these idiots that have two-wheel drive trucks. Two-wheel drive, mind you. Now, most off-roading takes four-wheel drive. Mainly because if you're going off-road, all four tires help turning. If you get stuck in the mud, four tires on the ground turning is a hell of a lot better than two. If you're rock crawling, guess what? Your front tire's wedged up against a rock. Pushing with your back tires is only going to fuck up your front end. If all four tires are turning, your front tires are pulling while your rear tires are pushing. Again, laws of physics apply. But you get these jackasses in these two-wheel drive trucks. They'll put a 4-inch body lift on them. Body lift. Now, for those playing the home game and don't know the difference, a body lift is little grommets of rubber, about that big, that go in between the body of the truck and the chassis to make it appear bigger, i.e. creatine for the vehicle world. Look, my vehicle's taller. Yeah, it still doesn't do shit. It only raises your center of gravity and your rollover risk. Nice looking truck, though. But they'll put this body lift on it, put bigger tires on it, and put that fucking douchebag LED, I'm going to burn your eyeballs out from behind you because I don't have enough lights on my truck, bar on the top. Oh, look, man, I go to Moab. Dude, the most mud your fucking truck has seen is in the fucking parking lot at Saks Fifth Avenue. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. I don't want to hear it. And shout out to my buddy Ross, who's a Jeep guy. You'll get these guys in their TJs with their Dana 30s underneath the fucking thing. Lift the son of a bitch up to the air. Put 38s or 44s underneath it. Look at me, I've got humongous tires. I'm a Jeep. It's a Jeep thing. You wouldn't understand. Dude, seriously, you've got axles that'll snap the minute you try to roll over a fucking pebble. You've got no winch. You've got no off-road jack. You've got no rollover protection. That's all for looks. It's called a mall crawler for a reason. And I'm sorry, any self-respecting four-wheeler is never going to have chrome rims or chrome suspension. Never. Why? Well, one, because all the rocks and the mud and the dust are going to chew that all to fucking shit and ruin it. And two, they want function. Chrome is heavy. Even chrome-plated shit, it is heavy. Even four-wheeling, yes, you do want weight to keep you down at the bottom, but it's kind of a trade-off. You don't want to be so heavy that you can't climb up a wall or pull yourself out of a fucking mud bog, but you want to be heavy enough that you don't roll over. They're not going to waste their time with chrome fucking parts, because that just adds more unnecessary weight to the entire process. And again, the money they spend modifying these cars, they could have bought what they were looking for in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I am all about a project car. I'm all about somebody buying a vehicle for $500 to $1,000 and it's a slow build. Start off with what you want. If you're going to buy a project car, you buy something that's tore up, wrecked, burnt, I don't care. You get the basis of what you want to build and you go from there. And this is the Achilles heel of a gearhead. Everybody bitches, well, yo, you spend all your money on cars. You spend all your money on your cars. Yeah, because most gearheads do it right. It starts off innocent enough. I'm going to get a high-flow air filter. The box says it adds 20 horsepower. The box says it adds 20 horsepower. The box says it adds 20 horsepower. With a little asterisk next to it. And when you read the instructions, it tells you, oh, it's only going to add that horsepower if you add this product and this product and this product and this product. Then you get your 20 horsepower boost. Most guys will start off with a high-flow air filter because it makes their engine bay look pretty. Oh, so pretty. Well, that causes an issue. I'm getting more air into my engine, but I'm not opening up my exhaust to get the more air that I'm taking into the engine out of the engine. Engines have to breathe just like we do. Okay, so we'll up the exhaust. You go with a cat back or a cat delete or a crossover pipe or fuck, screw it, run open header. Okay. Anyway, you upgrade your exhaust. Fantastic. Now your engine's running lean. You got more air, your engine can breathe better. But fuck. Now my fuel is not enough to power what I've done. And you can remap your ECU, or you can go with bigger injectors, or you can go with a bigger fuel pump or a hardier fuel pump to produce more fuel to the engine. Fantastic. Or you can do all three, depending on how serious you want to get with it. Awesome. I got about 25, 30 extra horsepower. Holy fuck, I'm burning my valves because they weren't built to take this kind of pressure. Okay. So, let's start with an intake spacer. Give it a little bit more room to mix up. Maybe it won't pack as much of a punch, which is actually what a lot of people do as the next step. And when I say intake spacer, it is literally a 3 or an 8 millimeter piece of metal that gets bolted between your engine and the intake. And the only thing it does is add clearance. That's it. It's all. But a good intake spacer will run you $200. Fuck, I'm in the wrong business. So they'll put that spacer in. I'm still burning my valves all the shit. Okay, well, I'll save up $800-900 aside and have my heads redone. I'll get fucking, chrome moly ads put in. I'll get higher profile rollers. I'll get some chrome moly push rods. Well, fuck, while I got the engine apart, I might as well go ahead and throw in a set of high profile cams because I'm going to have to retime the engine anyway. So I'll go in with some higher profile cams. Awesome. Going down the road, I am Billy Badass. Look at me spitting flame out my ass every time I change gear. What's that knocking noise? Your stock pistons couldn't take it. Your fucking piston rings burnt out. You smoked your fucking pistons. You scarred your fucking crank. You spun a bearing. All right, well, fine, fuck you. Time to take the bottom of the motor apart. Bore it out. Put some sterner pistons in it. Maybe some disc pistons to handle some more compression. Handle that hotter shit. Put a weighted and balanced crank in it. All right, let's dance. Higher profile fucking roller bearings. Let's do it. And by this time, you've already sunk 10 G's into your engine, but you've got an engine that will outrun anything. Fantastic, buddy. You spend the first 500 miles taking it easy, driving it like a Cadillac so the valves can set back down and everything can seat like it's supposed to, and that magical 500-mile mark shows up, and it's time to do a victory burnout. So I'm going to sit here and stand on my brake and my gas pedal and turn my rear tires to smoke. And what was that clunking noise in the back? Oh, your rear end just fucking obliterated itself because it couldn't deal with the horsepower and torque increase. Fuck. So now I'm going to go to the rear end and change out the fucking gear and pinions to hotter ends. If I'm running a 411 gear end, I'm going to go down in ratio to a 373 or a 311 to try and get a little bit more horsepower out of it, to try and make sure I can take a little bit more abuse, because my engine's obviously, Zeus incarnate under the hood. You get the rear end put back together, you get everything taken care of. All right, time to go down the street. Time to take it to the track. Let's do it. First gear, motherfucker. Ah, bam! Why won't my car go in gear? Because your stock transmission couldn't take it. You've blown your synchros, you've blown your clutch, you've blown your torque converter, whether you're running automatic or manual. Oh, fuck. Now I gotta spend $1,200 and $1,300 getting a hotter transmission build that can take the pressure, that can take the fucking abuse, that can take the torque. So by this time, you've bought a $500 car and you've dumped $15,000 into the engine, the transmission, and the rear end. Now you got yourself a dragster. All right, let's do this. It's not fucking street legal anymore. Son of a bitch. Well, I guess it's time to slap a nice pretty paint job on it and sell it. That's what gearheads do. Paint it up, make it look nice, turn around and sell it at a loss. And about 3 months later, man, I miss working on cars. I think it's time for me to buy a project car. And the whole cycle continues. People, if you want to make sure your children never do drugs, get them attached to cars, because they will spend all their money on them. In a heartbeat. But going back to posers and cloners, with that entire explanation of how a gearhead does things, a poser does none of that. A poser is the type of guy that takes a big-ass fucking turbo, straps it onto stock internals, and that's what we're gonna do. Fuck it, they can take it. Running 18 pounds of boost from a turbo on stock internals is like a 300-pound cheerleader trying to be held up by a 98-pound band geek. It'll do it once without catastrophic failure. And you see it all the time. Piston rods that have knocked a hole the size of the fucking wheel in the engine block. Heads blowing off the engine because it can't take the pressure. Cloners, they do it the proper way. But after they've sunk so much money into it, and after they've cried and, done everything they can, well, fuck, now I have to sell this thing. That's not a true whatever I'm trying to clone. Well, I've already done all the work. Might as well pass it off as an authentic one and make my money back. The life of a modifier. And there are truly very few vehicles out there that are platforms that you can do anything with. Trucks. Trucks are one of those vehicles. Be any kind of truck. Mini truck, full-size truck, fucking dually truck. You could turn them into fucking monster trucks. You could turn them into drag races. You could turn them into fucking lay-in frame wheel tuckers, which I don't know why you would, but it has that ability. And they all look good in their own right. Another platform that you can do anything you want with? I know I'm going to catch some hell. The Volkswagen Beetle. And I'm not talking about that 2000 redesign, fuck you. I'm talking about the classic Volkswagen Beetle. Why? Because it's... Now, Mr. Gary might shoot me for this because I don't quite remember. If I remember correctly, it's 30-something bolts that hold the entire body to the floor pan. You take all those bolts out, and you get two strong men and a boy that ate his Wheaties that morning. You can lift the whole body up off the fucking car. You got a fresh slate, do whatever the hell you want. You want a beach crawler? Well, fuck, turn it into a dune buggy. You want an off-roader? Turn it into a Baja Bug. You want a drag monster? You can get a big 2100cc overboard Volkswagen engine to hang off the ass end of it, or a Porsche engine. You want to turn it into a beach cruiser, driving down Beach Boulevard late at night? Well, SoCal Style is there for a reason. All of that has been able to be done with a Bug. You cannot, however, do any of that with a Honda Civic. You can't do any of that with a muscle car. Those are two cars that are designed for two very set, specific purposes. Muscle cars are built to make very, very loud noises and go very, very, very fast in a straight line. They are there to make, turn money into noise and smoke. That's it. Don't get me wrong, in my opinion, a classic muscle car will look better than any supercar comes out today. And I don't care how many of you fucking argue with me. I'm sorry. You park a 1970 Dodge Charger RT next to any Lambo or next to any Maserati or next to any Aston Martin or any Ferrari, it's going to look better. In my eyes, it'll look better. A car that's designed for one thing and one thing only. Tuners and imports are designed to go sideways. At least some of them are. I owned one. I owned a Nissan 240SX. That's 13 chassis. That car went sideways everywhere it went. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. She bitched at me every time we went for a drive because the ass end of that car just hung out everywhere it went. There's so much decadence in our culture now, and it spills over into our cars. It spills over into our automotive life, because I honestly think cars are an extension of who we are. Somebody's not interested in driving and just wants to get from point A to point B, just kind of want to float through life and not make any waves. Hello, Toyota Echo. Hello, Nissan Versa. Very boring, very to the point, very here you are car. They get you from point A to point B, that's pretty much it. You want to grab life by the nuts and go everywhere in a chorus of smoke and noise? Well, say hello to the muscle cars. And I don't care if it's going with the times or, looking at fuel-efficient vehicles and get your V6 engines out of my fucking muscle cars. Muscle cars are supposed to have one engine and one engine only. It's called a V8. It's not supposed to have a six-banger underneath it. And even if it did originally come with a slant 6, I guarantee 99% of the people that bought a slant 6 Dart or slant 6 Duster or slant 6 fucking Nova ripped that son of a bitch out and a big V8 went in under the hood. That's how the muscle car craze got started. They looked at cars like the original Barracuda with that monstrous back window or the Pontiac Le Mans and said, I wonder what would happen if we took this monster of a motor and crammed it into this fucking car just to see what would happen. And again, fanboys, I know you love your Mustangs. The Mustang is not a muscle car, it's a pony car. Whole difference. The Mustang was originally designed to drive down the fucking coastal road in California while you look good and just go down the road and go, eh. That's what the Mustang was designed for. It is not a muscle car. GTO, Chevelle, Camaro, Charger, Challenger, Cuda, those were all muscle cars. Alright, Dodge wants to make a 4-door Charger. I've swallowed that pill. It's been long enough. Okay, fine. Get your fucking V6 engine out of it. Oh, look, it's a Camaro. It's got a V6. Get that V6 out of that motherfucker. V8. V8 only. And everybody wants to give Dodge shit because they're coming out with a new version of the Challenger called the Dodge Demon. Now, originally, there was an actual car named the Dodge Demon back in the 70s. Didn't last very long. So they decided to turn the Demon into an engine and an appearance pack for the Dodge Challenger. Fantastic. Everybody's bitching. Well, it's got too much horsepower. Same thing with the Hellcat. It's got too much horsepower. That's what muscle cars are supposed to have. Ridiculous amounts of power. That's what they're supposed to do. What about the emissions of the environment? Fuck you. If you bought a muscle car, you've pretty much flipped the bird to the EPA. And if you're that goddamn hellbent on saving the environment, instead of buying a Prius that does more damage to the environment with its strip mining for the lithium in its fucking batteries, than a full Land Rover Discovery V8 at full tilt for 10 fucking years, buy a diesel. Ooh, there's that dirty word Americans don't like, diesel. Dieselgate. Dieselgate. Oh my god, diesel. Diesel. Brrr. Fuck over it. Really? Diesels, even with running 40 times higher than the EPA standard, nah. That Volkswagen got their knuckles cracked for. Diesels still burn cleaner, burn more efficient, and produce less emissions than a gas-powered motor. Here's the thought for you. That big black smoke belching semi pulling your shit from Walmart to Walmart is a cleaner running vehicle than a Toyota Camry. It produces less greenhouse gases than a Toyota Camry. Oh my god, look at the black smoke. It's soot. It's fucking soot. It goes into the air, falls back down to the ground. It's soot. It's carbon. Burnt up fucking carbon. What we're all made of. Carbon-based life forms. That's what we're all made of. From the plants, to human beings, to dogs, to dolphins, to fish. If it lives and breathes, it is a carbon-based life form. But I know I'm not blind. I want somewhere safe for my Volvo. Fuck off. Americans have this huge diesel phobia. And now that Fiat Chrysler got their ass popped for doing the same thing Volkswagen did. And everybody, even Volkswagen, said they weren't the only ones doing it. For cooking the emissions books. There's a senator now trying to pass a bill saying that diesel should be illegal for private American consumers. Yet there are diesels in Europe, built on the same platforms as modern cars, mind you. I'm not talking about the Lupo or anything like that. I'm talking, and I believe Top Gear did a special on this as well. There is a Jaguar, supercharged. Oh yeah, fuck your turbo, supercharged. Diesel. That'll get 1,000 miles to a tank of fuel. 1,000 miles to a tank of fuel. It's only got a 28-gallon tank. I'll let you do the math on that one. And you can drive it like your hair is on fire. 100 miles an hour. From here to Houston, Texas. One tank of fuel. One tank. But it's that dirty D word that Americans don't like, diesel. I find it funny now, there was a bunch of protesters out and about that apparently a couple of guys in their hopped up diesels wanted to have a little fun and went by them rolling coal. What's rolling coal? Blowing black smoke out of your diesel engine. Again, what we talked about, carbon soot. Didn't want these drivers arrested for assault. I'm sorry, go fuck yourself. If you want those drivers arrested for assault because they blew black smoke at you, then every single car that drove past you and blew their fucking exhaust at you should get the exact same treatment. But it's that dirty D word, diesel. Diesel's a more efficient engine. A gasoline engine will do what's called a 25% burn, which from all the fuel that it burns, yes, some of it is wasted out of the tailpipe, but you're only getting about 25% of the power from that fuel, from turning the crank to turning the transmission, turning the rear axle, blah, 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 blah. It's 25% to the wheels. It's a 75% loss in power. Diesels are 60%. Better power ratio, better fuel economy, cleaner burning emissions, but yet Americans won't have them. And I can tell you why. Because in the 80s, Mercedes brought their diesels over here, the 300D, if I remember correctly. That sound about right, Bill? I got my buddy Bill out here. He's a journalist. He's out here watching me make an ass of myself.
What else?
But the 300D came over here in the 80s. And it was a...
303?
Yeah, 303.
Arizona Mills? Yeah.
It came over here and it was a European diesel. Running on our fuel. Now here's something you need to know about the gas here in America. Whether it's gas or diesel, it's watered down as fuck. It really is. When you get somebody over here from the UK and they walk up to our pumps and see 87 octane, they laugh at us. We get cheap watered down gas. We do. That's what our engines are tuned to run on. So when this diesel came over, and diesels were never really quiet engines. When this diesel came over, it was a very loud, very clunky engine. It sounded like a wash machine with a couple of cinder blocks in it. Run for fucking ever. You can go buy one right now for $1,000 with 300,000 miles on the fucking clock. I'd probably put another 700,000 miles on the son of a bitch if you took care of it. But people are afraid of that diesel phobia. Why do I want that loud, clunky thing? I'd rather my Toyota Prius that's all quiet. And you're bitching about emissions? I want to hear that bullshit. They started something called DEF, diesel emissions fluid, if I remember correctly. Is that the right term?
Diesel exhaust fluid.
I'm sorry, diesel exhaust fluid.
Came out in 2012.
It's basically a blue liquid that they charge you, what is it, $12 a gallon now? That's what we charge for it at the dealership, $12 a gallon.
15 a gallon.
15 a gallon.
Because it's a 1.25, yeah, it's a 1.25 gallon box.
Now, to pass California's hardened EPA standard on an engine that already burns cleaner than a gas engine, mind you, they spray this shit into the intake and into the exhaust to calm the exhaust byproduct. Carbon. Again, what we're all made of. Now, California's laws require that all vehicles, both commercial and consumer, be fitted with DEF if they're a diesel. Now, any truck driver will tell you that has a DEF system on their truck, it blows the truck apart. If you're doing in-town work with a DEF system in your fucking truck, that engine is not going to be worth a fuck after 100,000 miles. Because it's a DEF system has to do, what was that, Bill? Called regenning?
Yep.
The system doesn't regen and clean itself out. It burns.
That's why my truck blew its engine twice. Between 2011 and 2014.
Yeah. But this is mandated by the state of California. You see, we tried this shit in the 70s. It was first installed on the Chevy Chevette, later made its way into Chrysler products. It was called an air pump. It was a mechanical pump that pumped more air into the exhaust so the exhaust smelled less like gas. Did fuck all. Did fuck all. Except burn out your exhaust system faster, make you spend more money. At the end of the day, most of this emissions crap, and I'm not one of those climate change deniers. No, I believe that climate change is a real thing. But I also believe, like George Carlin, the planet is fine. The people on it are fucked. That simple. But the climate has always been changing. Are humans speeding up the process? Yes, we are. Anybody that says otherwise is a fucking moron and doesn't understand science. We emit greenhouse gases with our burning wood and burning coal and burning fuel, and it just, you can't trade energy without a ramification. It just doesn't happen. So yes, are we contributing to greenhouse gases? Yes, we are. Do we need to tighten up our emissions? Yes, we do. It's called driving diesel engines. It used to be that diesel was a byproduct of making petroleum gasoline. That's why, from what I can remember, until about 2002, 2003, diesel was like 69 to 89 cents a gallon. You could fill up a fucking diesel engine for $20. Big fucking dually. Still gets 20 miles to the gallon. You can fill it up for $20. But then when everybody realized that, oh, wait a minute, our entire country runs on diesel because that's what powers the trucks and the trains and the boats to get shit from point A to point B, so we can buy it at Walmart, we can buy it at Target, we can buy it online at Amazon. Price hike! It all goes back to money. This green elusive substance called cash. It's one of the reasons why they don't make cars to last anymore. Like this fucking Nissan in front of me. That Nissan won't last the test of time. It won't last 20 years. It won't. Unless you put it in a fucking garage, start the engine once a week, maybe take it around the block once a month to stretch its legs. It's the only way that car's going to last 20 years. California used their way to try and generate revenue, generate money, and turned it into emissions law. And California sets the pace for every other state's emissions law. Yes, there are states that are way behind, but California sets the tone. They are the Pied Piper. So they design a system that will blow your fucking motor if it's not driven right. And to be driven right, even consumer cars. If you want to go buy a 2017 Nissan Titan XD diesel, you want to go buy a Dodge 3500 or a Dodge 1500 with that fucking Italian diesel in it, it's got a DEF system in it. For driving around town, you're going to blow that motor in 50,000 miles. That motor has to regen.
Side note, car companies are just also disincentivized to make diesel fuel cars because they count 0 in the EPA CAFE standards.
Of course they do. Because, God forbid, you actually make something that lasts. It's all a money grab. All of it. The 70s fuel crunch did one thing and one thing only. It proved to the U.S. automaker that people were holding on to their vehicles for 30, 40, 50 years. We still do today. They're called classic cars. 1993 Honda Civic will not be here in 2040. But I guarantee a 57 Chevrolet Bel Air will. A 63 Opel GT will. It's all a money grab. It's all a money grab. They don't want cars to last. They want cars to carry you around for 2 to 3 years, and then you trade it in on the newest model. Let's talk transmissions for a bit. Now, I've never learned how to work on transmissions. I don't have the patience for it. I really don't. I barely have the patience for engine work. It takes a Buddhist god of patience to work on transmissions. There's a transmission developed 2002, 2003 called the CVT, or Constant Variable Transmission. Basically, all it is 2 pulleys with a rope or a chain. And depending on the angle of these pulleys, depends on what gear you're in. So not only is it going to tear itself apart in 50,000 miles, because constant rubbing of metal will do that, it's going to give you a shitty ass ride. I know, I owned one. My 2016 Altima SV had a CVT transmission in it. That thing juddered and shook the minute you tried to accelerate in it. What's wrong with a 6-speed automatic? Hell, what's wrong with a 6-speed manual? I got a buddy of mine, but Tony, this is a shout out to you. If you didn't look down and realize that he had a manual transmission, you'd never know the difference. Because he is that disciplined with a manual. Never judders, never shakes, never hard launches or anything like that. You would never ever know that he was driving a manual transmission. Ah, there's another dirty word for Americans: manual transmission. For a country and a society so obsessed with mileage, gas mileage, they shun all the things that give them better gas mileage. Manual transmissions will give you more control over your vehicle. They will, if you learn how to drive one properly, it will give you better mileage. You put a manual transmission in a diesel, forget about it. There are Volkswagens, Jags, fucking Seats, all over in Europe running diesels. That'll get you 80 or 90 miles to the gallon. Diesels. Manual transmissions. Again, all things that scare away Americans. Best theft deterrent in the world is a clutch pedal and a shift lever. People don't know how to drive them anymore. They don't want to know how to drive them anymore. And yes, I do get it. I am very much stuck on my manual transmissions. I prefer manual over an automatic. I learned how to drive a manual. Why? Because I want to know how to drive everything on the fucking planet. The basics are the same. I could jump into a fucking Peterbilt or a Freightliner right now and go on down the road. Wouldn't be pretty. Would not be pretty, but I know the basics. I could jump into a bulldozer and drive it down the road. Again, it wouldn't be pretty, would not be graceful, but it can be done. But I could go and buy a $500,000 Ferrari. That's a manual, a proper manual, not this flappy paddle F1 bullshit. A proper 6-speed gated manual transmission with a clutch pedal. Park it in Old Town Scottsdale with the windows down, the doors unlocked, and the keys in the fucking ignition, and the car wouldn't leave. Wouldn't go anywhere. Nobody knows how to drive them anymore. At the end of the day, the laws and the rules are set by a select few. And while most people go, well, my voice can be heard, yes, your voice can be heard. It can be heard. It can also be ignored. These people that set the laws, that set the regulations, want a safe, clean environment for them to drive their Volvos around while they take their 5-year-old to fucking, I don't know, dildo practice somewhere in the suburbs while they go have a Tupperware party and talk about marmalade in the presidential elections of 1974. And anybody that wants to call me out and anybody that wants to debate me, feel free. I am always open to hearing another point of view. I am always open to hearing another point of view. Please. And we could sit here and talk about it, and we could figure out either A, I'm wrong, or B, you're wrong, or hey, you know what, we agree to disagree, and we move on with our lives. Car culture is the heartbeat of this country. It really is. Automotive culture is the heartbeat of this country. Semis will move everything around the country. Truck drivers, I tip my hat to you guys because you guys are the ones that keep us moving, keep us supplied with shit for our daily hollow lives. But automotives will always be the heartbeat of this country. And if you ever want to take a pulse of a society, look at its cars. When you move into a neighborhood, what's the first thing you're looking for? You're looking for the kind of people that are there. What do they drive? It's one of the first things I look at. I want to know if I can afford an apartment complex. I look around the parking lot. There's nothing but $50,000 and $60,000 BMWs, Mercedes. I can't afford to fucking live there. Our culture is dying. The way of the gearhead, the way of the hot rodder, it's dying off. That makes my heart hurt. Because there's an entire generation of people out there that'll never understand the joy of a late night drive with loud music. Truckers can attest that one of the most powerful feelings that they have, one of the times they feel most zen, is when they're out there on the open road and all they have is themselves. They're out of CB range for anybody. They're out of cell phone range for everybody. It's just them and the road. People are forgetting that. Oh, shit. I apparently can't function. Could be just a gray-haired old man lamenting about the old days. I really was born in the wrong generation. I really was. So to recap, stop passing off Honda Civics as Type Rs. Stop passing off V6 Mustangs as Shelbys. And if you've got to build a clone, own up to it. By all means, please, go for a drive. I guarantee you'll feel better in the long run. Good night, folks.